In this video, we'll be going over what hip flexion is and all the muscles involved in creating this movement. Now, hip flexion is, it involves the contraction of several muscles. It's when the lower limbs and the body are moved closer together. It occurs through the sagittal plane and at the hip joint. And the hip joint is actually a ball and socket synovial joint, and on top of hip flexion it also allows extension, rotation, abduction, adduction, and circumduction. Before we get into all the muscles that cause hip flexion, we have to identify the bony landmarks to which they attach to. So first we have the iliac fossa, which is the large concave surface of the ilium. Then we have the ala of the sacrum. Then we have the anterior inferior iliac spine, which is basically a bony eminence on the wing of the ilium. Then we have the two rami. We have the superior ramus of the pubis, and just below we have a long flat bone, which is the inferior ramus of the pubis. Then we have the pecten pubis, and finally on the hip bone we have the iliopubic eminence. Now if we move down to the femur, we have the lesser trochanter. Then we have the pectineal line. We have the sesamoid shaped bone called the patella. Then the tibial tuberosity. And finally the medial condyle of the tibia. Now that we've established all the bony landmarks, we can look at the agonists of hip flexion. And the first one is the iliacus, which proximally attaches to the iliac fossa, which is the large concave surface of the ilium. And the iliacus distally attaches to the lesser trochanter. The iliacus is innervated via the femoral nerve. The second agonist of hip flexion is the psoas major, and it proximally attaches to the transverse processes of the 12th thoracic vertebrae, and also from the 1st to the 5th lumbar vertebrae. And it also shares its distal attachment with the lesser trochanter. And the psoas major is innervated via the anterior rami of the lumbar nerves L1 to L3. Now we're going to have a look at the synergists of hip flexion, and the first one that comes to mind is the rectus femoris, and that's a part of the quadriceps group. And the rectus femoris proximally attaches to the anterior inferior iliac spine, and distally attaches to the quadriceps tendon, which then attaches to the patella, which then attaches to the patella tendon, and then finally to the tibial tuberosity. And the rectus femoris is innervated via the femoral nerve too. Another synergist is the sartorius, and that proximally attaches also to the anterior inferior iliac spine, and distally attaches to the medial condyle of the tibia, specifically the anterior aspect of the medial condyle of the tibia. And the sartorius is also innervated by the femoral nerve. Next up we have the pectineus, and the pectineus proximately attaches to the superior rami of the pubis and distally attaches to the pectineal line of the femur, and that is inferior to the lesser trochanter. The pectineus is innervated via both the femoral and the obturator nerve. The tensor fascia latae is commonly abbreviated as the TFL muscle, and that is proximally attached to the anterior superior iliac spine, the ASIS, and it distally attaches to the iliotibial band, which is a long fibrous band which attaches to the anterior lateral tubercle of the tibia. And the TFL is innervated via the superior gluteal nerve. And the last synergist for hip flexion is the psoas minor. And the psoas minor attaches to the transverse processes of the 12th thoracic vertebrae and also the first lumbar vertebrae. And it distally attaches to the pecten pubis. And the psoas minor is innervated via the anterior rami of the lumbar nerves L1 and L2. And those are all the muscles responsible for causing hip flexion. Thanks for watching.